There's a silence that follows a storm, one so deep, so hollow it almost hums. It's the kind of silence that settles after chaos has clawed through your life and then vanished, leaving behind only questions. And if you've ever walked away from a narcissist, you've felt that silence. You've heard it echo in the corners of your heart, asking the same question again and again. What is the narcissist thinking now? It's a haunting thought, isn't it? Because the narcissist doesn't just fade, the memory doesn't vanish, that energy doesn't just dissolve. No, it festers, it broods, it lingers like smoke after the fire, still curling through the air even when the flames are long gone. And I want to tell you something straight from my soul. The narcissist hasn't forgotten you, can't forget you, not because of love, not because of tenderness, but because you are the one who got away. The one who saw the truth behind the charm, the one who stood in the presence of manipulation and had the courage to walk through it without falling. And that kind of memory? That sticks like a thorn they can't pull out. Inside the narcissist's mind is a war that never ends. A battle between the need to erase your name and the inability to let go of what you exposed. You cracked the mirror they lived behind. You shattered the fantasy they tried to feed the world. And now, that reflection keeps showing up, uninvited, whispering, you were never in control. Oh, they might look calm. They might look successful. But don't be fooled. The narcissist lives in a house of smoke and mirrors. Every room echoing with stories that paint them as the hero, or worse, the victim. And yet none of it quite adds up. Not with you. Because you didn't crumble, you didn't run, you didn't come crawling back after the mind games. You left with clarity, with quiet strength, with dignity, and they never saw that coming. The narcissist tells 1,000 lies to silence the truth of who you were, says you were too much, too sensitive, too hard to love. But deep down, that story is a cover, a smokescreen, because the truth is, they underestimated you. They thought they had time, thought you'd always be there to explain, to argue, to beg for understanding. But you didn't. You left the script, you walked off stage, and they've been rewriting the ending ever since. Loss feels different to a narcissist. It's not the absence of love that haunts. It's the absence of access. You were a well of reaction, of attention, of emotional energy. That was the supply. And when you shut it off, when you vanished without another performance, it ripped something open in them. They scramble for meaning, they project, they blame, but it never sticks, because deep inside they know exactly what they lost, and why. And oh yes, they think about you. Don't let the silence fool you. They wonder if you're still thinking about them, if you're scrolling, checking, reaching back through the past. They picture you smiling again. They imagine someone else holding your joy, and that tear's at the very center of the illusion they built. Because if you're whole again, if you're thriving, that means they never broke you. And that truth burns. They remember the way your eyes softened when you believed in them. The tone of your voice when pain cracked your spirit. They remember the grace you offered, the patience you poured out like water on barren ground. And now they sit with that memory, knowing they will never taste that kindness again. Not like that. Not from you. And in the dark, when no one's watching, the narcissist revisits the ruins, rereads your messages, scrolls through the pictures, listens for your name in circles you once shared. They'll never admit it. They'll deny it. But the interest isn't curiosity, it's torment. Because if you've healed, if your glow is back, then they've lost not just a person, they've lost power. They've lost proof of their grip. And that loss keeps growing. But here's the thing, time doesn't soothe this wound for the narcissist. It twists it, changes it, turns it into a curse that follows. Even with someone new in their life, the past doesn't rest. They compare. They crave what they once controlled. And when the new supply doesn't give the same fuel, doesn't ignite the same flames, it only reminds them of what slipped through their hands. You see, you weren't perfect, but you were real, present, invested, alive with emotion and hope, and they took that as their due. So now, when the house is quiet and the applause has stopped, the what-ifs return. What if they'd chosen better? What if they'd listened? What if they hadn't tried to conquer what only wanted to love? Those regrets, they hide in bitterness, in sharp words, in sabotage, and in silence, because admitting the truth out loud would shatter their pride. So instead, it shows up in everything else: rage, control, sadness they can't name. And here's what terrifies the narcissist the most. You didn't just survive, you evolved. You took what was meant to break you and made something holy from it. You planted roots in the pain and grew strength where there once was fear. You walked out of the fire not scorched, but refined. And now your strength preaches a truth they can't bury, that their grip was never final. You are no longer orbiting their world. You are the center of your own. You rose from what they tried to bury. And every step you take in peace and purpose speaks a sermon to the void they left behind, a sermon they can't silence. You broke the cycle. You wrote a new story. And what devastates the narcissist the most isn't your absence, it's your transformation. It's knowing that the version of you they once mistook for weak is now untouchable, unshakable, and utterly out of reach. There's something sacred about leaving a mark that can't be erased. Not because it was loud or dramatic, but because it was real. The narcissist might strut through life pretending it meant nothing, might laugh, might shrug, might act like it was just a passing moment, just a name in a sea of names. But deep down, where the shadows gather and truth refuses to be silenced, the memory of you still breathes. And it's not just any memory, it's the one they can't rewrite, the chapter they wish never ended. That time in their life when someone stood before them and gave them what no mask could mimic: truth, loyalty, and a love that didn't come with strings. You showed up whole, again and again, offering chances they didn't deserve, and believing there was something worth saving inside them. And now it haunts them, not in anger, but in absence. Because while the narcissist builds distractions and stacks new relationships like poker chips, none of it sticks. None of it fills the space where you once stood, authentic, open, alive. That memory waits in silence, shows up in dreams they can't shake, flickers in the smell of your favorite scent or the tone of a stranger's voice. It's a ghost that won't be buried, not because you haunt them, but because the truth does. And while you may forget the rhythm of their speech or the exact way they twisted words, the things you stood for still echo in their mind. Not because you asked to be remembered, but because they can't let go. You became the mark they can't scrub away, the proof that someone real once stood in their life and loved them without disguise. And that kind of love, it doesn't vanish. It brands the soul. Even though you've stopped counting the days, stopped circling the calendar, the narcissist still feels every tick of the clock like a cut that won't heal. Your absence isn't just silence, it's an ache. A missing verse in the song they used to control. You moved on, you let go. But they never stopped measuring time by the sound of your footsteps walking away. While you've built something stronger, something sacred, they're still stuck in the ruins of what they destroyed. You're not in their plans, but you're everywhere in their regrets. They see glimpses of you when new relationships collapse, when jobs slip through their hands, when peace won't settle in. You're the whisper that follows failure, the shadow that shows up when they're all alone and the crowd's gone quiet. In the loneliest hours, when there's no one left to impress, when the game is over, they see you. Not as a memory, not as a ghost, but as a mirror, a reflection of what they lost, what they threw away, what they'll never touch again. And they can't name the emptiness, but they know it started with you. Because the deeper truth, the one they try to outrun, is this: they saw your strength too late. Back then they thought you'd bend forever, thought you'd break but never walk. They underestimated the fire in your soul, but now from a distance they finally see what you were made of. You didn't just survive the storm, they created. You came through it refined, you rose. And that strength, that humbles them in ways they'll never admit. You became more than a person. They turned you into a symbol, a reminder of what's real, a testimony of what could have been if they had chosen truth over ego. And they can lie to the world all they want, but deep down, they know. They didn't just lose a partner, they lost the one person who could have shown them something eternal, not flattery, not attention, but soul-deep connection. You offered them light, not spotlight, and they weren't ready. They couldn't take it. They turned from it, not because you were too much, but because they were never enough, not for the kind of love that required truth. And now, that missed moment trails them like a shadow that stretches across every new beginning. But the door's closed now, and they know it. There's no going back, no second performance, no rewritten script, because you've gone somewhere they'll never follow. You've chosen a life rooted in truth, watered with healing, and built from the quiet power of knowing your worth. And that's the one thing they can't reach, can't twist, can't control. Your peace isn't revenge, it's resurrection. You've healed in the hush, grown in the stillness, built a sanctuary where their voice no longer echoes. And that silence, that blessed holy silence, that's what torments the narcissist most. So, if you ever wonder whether you mattered, know this: you weren't just a chapter, you were the turning point. The moment the mirror cracked, the voice that rang louder than the chaos. You weren't the wound, they were. And your healing became the story they'll never escape. And to those still walking that road of healing, thank you. Thank you for showing up, for listening, for choosing yourself again and again. If this message found you, if it lit a candle in a dark place, hold on to it. You are not alone, and your journey matters. If these words gave you breath, gave you light, don't keep them to yourself. Someone else is out there right now, needing a sign that healing is possible, that they're not crazy, that love doesn't look like pain. Share this message, let it reach the soul who needs it most, because your story, it's not over, it's becoming, and the legacy you leave won't be what hurt you, but how you rose from it, with quiet strength, with holy fire, with a peace that doesn't need applause. You were never the echo of the narcissist's noise. You were the silence that set you free. And that silence, it speaks louder than words ever could.